This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay. Bruchim Abam, welcome everyone. We continue in the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. We're middle of Ois Samaches. So the Rosh said, you should pursue Tzedaka. One who runs after Tzedaka will find life, charity, and kavod, meaning one will live long, one will be wealthy, one will have honor, and you should give a minimum of a machzas hashekel every year at one time. Now, there's a question on the Rosh, as we mentioned yesterday, from Baba Basra, Daf Tesamet Aleph, that the Gemara says you should never give less than a third of a shekel per year, and that's brought in Shulchan Aruch, Yerodei and Reish Mem Tes. And the Shach asks, what do you mean? But the Shach asks on the Rosh, why does the Rosh say machzas hashekel? You only have to give a third of a shekel a year. And the Shach says that the Rosh is saying it for Midas Chasidus, but halachically you only have to give a third. As we pointed out many times from Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein, that the Rosh wrote the Orchos Chaim LaRosh for his own personal pious practices. However, the question is, why do you have to give it all at one time? You have the whole year to give this amount. And Reb Chaim Kanievsky says maybe this is referring to the machzas hashekel that we give before Purim. Then the Rosh says something very interesting. Uvechol chodesh, every month, uvechol shavua, and every week, kefi misas yadcha, in accordance with your ability, uvechol yoim, and every day, lo sechsar matan muetes, you should not be lacking a small gift, l'chol hapachos, at the very least, koidem tefillah, before tefillah. Now, the Rosh seems to imply that even though you have to give, let's say, a half a shekel in total the whole year, but there's a concept that don't just give tzedakah at one time. You want to make sure that every month has tzedakah, you want to make sure that every week has tzedakah, and you want to make sure that every day has tzedakah. So there's a special inyan that all of these time amounts should have tzedakah in it. I think this supports the idea that Arizal talks about, that time is a living reality, it's a living entity, and you want to make sure every segment of time is full with all of the various good qualities that the Torah has to offer, whether it's Torah, learning Torah, Gemilas Chasav. In other words, since every segment of time is a living reality, you want to make sure that every segment of time has tzedakah in it. So Rav Goldberg gives an example that in the Telz Yeshiva the minhag was to make a collection every Rosh Chodesh and every Erev Shabbos, because you want to make sure every time segment has tzedakah in it. This is similar to the idea that we were learning about, that you want to make sure that every amount of time has tshuva. So there's an idea to do tshuva every day before Shkia. There's an idea to do tshuva every week before Shabbos. There's an idea to do tshuva every Erev Rosh Chodesh and every Erev Rosh Hashanah. So why? Because you want every day to have tshuva in it. You know, before the day, so to speak, goes back into escrow, goes into the account, there's an idea that once the day goes into the account, it's harder to rectify. It's much easier to rectify when it's still active. And therefore, we apply the same idea with tzedakah. You want every day to have tzedakah, every week to have tzedakah, every year to have tzedakah. And, you know, there's an organization called Daily Giving. It's a beautiful organization. We mentioned it a number of times in the Shurim during the Yom Naraim. But the idea of it is you want to make sure that every day of your life has tzedakah in it. And that's what it does. You know, even if a person gives tzedakah every day in shul, what about Shabbos? You don't give tzedakah on Shabbos. So that's the idea. You want to make sure that every segment of life is full of the midah of tzedakah. Then the Rosh says, V'hi taraf beveischa, that there should be provisions in your house. Simply what the Rosh means is, don't be concerned, you're giving so much tzedakah, you're giving X amount a year, X amount a month, X amount a week, X amount per day, I'm going to be lacking for my own family. Therefore comes the Rosh, and the Rosh is saying, don't worry, Hashem promises, Havius kol hamasar beis ha'oitzer uv'chanuni na bezois v'hi taraf bevesi, that there's an idea that Hashem promises that He will support you, that even though you give tzedakah, you won't have less, you'll have more. But Rav Goldberg points out that the Tosfos Yom Tov has a different take on this. And that is, many people want to give tzedakah, but sorry, I don't have money on me, I don't have change on me, I don't have, I don't have food for you, I want to feed you, I don't have food for you. So the Rosh says, make sure that you have money available at all times to give tzedakah. V'teref beveischa. Make sure your house is well stocked with money to be able to give tzedakah to aniyim who come. Make sure your house is well stocked with food to be able to give to aniyim who come. V'teref beveischa. The Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky explains, the kavanah is that the meiser should be muchan in your house for all types of tzedakahs. And so now the next line we could read two ways. V'hi teref beveischa, God will provide you k'chayil asher timtza yadcha, in accordance with your generosity. Ligma, to bestow, hein l'chayim, whether to the living, hein l'mesim, whether to the dead, hein la'aniyim, to the poor, hein la'ashirim, or to the wealthy. Meaning, the more you provide for the living, for the dead, for the poor, for the wealthy, to that extent, v'hi teref beveischa, God will provide for you. But according to the way the Tosfos Yom Tov read it, that v'hi teref beveischa means that you always have tzedakah available to be able to give to the poor. There's some people, they fill up their pockets with quarters or single dollars, or they always have in the house something to give the ani. That's the proper hanhaga. And then the Rosh is saying, whether you always have to have a ready and available provisions to give to the living, to be able to visit the sick, to be able to attend to the dead, have your shovel ready, have your money ready to lend, to give, whether to the poor, whether to the rich. People might need to help with a bris, a pinyan aben. Be fully stocked to be able to assist in any manner you could possibly assist. As the Gemara says in Sukkah, the various types of chesed, in three ways chesed is greater than tzedakah. Tzedakah is only monetarily, gemilas chesed is b'mamayin bein begufay, tzedakah is to the aniyim, gemilas chasadim is aniyim bein la'ashirim, tzedakah is l'chaim, gemilas chasadim is bein l'mesim. So basically, always be well stocked to be able to provide any possible need. And the Rosh is bringing a very beautiful idea that you want to make sure that all time segments, be it the year, be it the month, be it the week, be it the day, is full of tzedakah. Just like we said, you want to make sure every segment is full of tshuva, you want to make sure every segment is full of tzedakah. In fact, Reb Chaim Vital says at the end of every day, one should moan, woe to me if I let the day go by without Torah and without chesed. So now we're learning there are three things you want to make sure that you inject into every time segment, be it the year, month, week, or day. Torah, tzedakah, teshuvah. And if you do that, that's a good thing to do. Okay, everyone. Bracha v'atzlach. We'll see everybody Monday, Mirz Hashem. Tonight we have an amazing shir. It's about women rabbis, wise women. Good stuff tonight. Okay, everyone. Bracha v'atzlach. Kol tov. Bye-bye.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.